In this video, I'm going to talk about the best and safest low-tax country in Europe, which is now officially official as we have the reports of the wealth migration in 2026. We see that Cyprus is on the global spot number 4 of attracting global wealth, which means it is number 1 in the EU, and that is definitely something that we can be proud of. And as we see here, further sources say Cyprus topped the European rankings with a score of 73.5, and that makes Cyprus among the top jurisdictions of attracting global wealth. And the reasons why wealthy individuals are relocating to new countries is pretty obvious, and that is major geopolitical concerns, better quality of life, and also tax efficiency, all of which Cyprus offers here on this beautiful island where I live myself for 7 years now actually. And a little bit about my background: I moved here in 2017, right before the pandemic, and I fell in love immediately. I loved the lifestyle, the vibes, the benefits of the country. So it was not just a rational but also an emotional decision. I remember landing here in Cyprus and just seeing the potential of building something great here, and this is exactly what I did. Over the last few years, I built the .One group, which consists of Tax.One, Offplan.One and Rentals.One, where we help entrepreneurs relocate, invest and rent here in Cyprus. And even after living here for 7 years, I still love it every single day. And here's just one video of mine from the year 2020 on my personal brand channel, 1 year after I relocated to Cyprus, already talking about living here. And then what happened after that is literally history, because so many more entrepreneurs, business owners, investors followed and actually came here, invested here and started their new life here. And with that being said, in this video we are going to talk about the lifestyle and safety of the country, the actual tax benefits as well as the real costs, banking and the fine print, so all the small details that you definitely should know before coming here. And then also very important, who Cyprus is for, and even more important, who it is not for, because Cyprus is not for everyone. That is definitely important to mention. And we had quite a few people that left Cyprus after spending some time here. So I will give you the breakdown of this island now, and we will start right away with the lifestyle and safety. First of all, let's take at the pictures here on the left and right. This was literally just the last weekend. So here I was motorcycling, driving to the beach, eating some fruits, going for a swim. And then here we have a few pictures of this lovely beach in Paphos. And I mean, Cyprus is a tourist destination, so saying that you live permanently where other people go on vacation is a flex without being a flex. Here also Aphrodite Rock, absolutely lovely location for watching the sunset. And I mean, pictures say more than 1,000 words, but when it comes to the facts, we can factually say that Cyprus has at least 300 sunny days per year, as well as a very mild and sunny winter. I remember last December, right before Christmas, I was in the mountains of Cyprus and I was in this one Airbnb that I rented just for a weekend getaway, and it was just the perfect breeze of autumn and getting ready for Christmas and drinking a hot tea but not freezing and needing to wear huge big coats. And obviously the winters in Cyprus are very short, so it is December to March, you can say. Sometimes it also goes into April, but depends very much on the season. Sometimes the climate just goes crazy, you never really know. But in general, the tourism season is from April to November, so this is where you will see tourists at the beaches, a lot of people in the old town going out, living their life and just enjoying their time here in Cyprus. So I would say that during most of the time, summer is like the default feeling. This Mediterranean sea salt water on your body, eating good food vibes is what is like the lifestyle here. And then also for people that actually live here, it is a little bit different than for tourists. Tourists just pack as much as possible in a short stay, go to the main attraction and main touristic places. But when you live here, you find out that the day-to-day life here in Cyprus is actually very close to nature, just because there is still so much land, so much nature, waterfalls, natural wonders, lakes and things which you can never get tired of. And even me, after living in Cyprus for 7 years, there is something new that I discover on a monthly basis. It is so peaceful here. I really feel like I'm at peace with myself, and also solitude is a very big keyword when living here in Cyprus. And when it comes to hobbies, then paddle is very popular here. I personally prefer water sports, so jet skiing, surfing, renting yachts, boats, whatever it is, going to blue lagoons, to beautiful places. And since living in Cyprus, especially the last 2-3 years, I go to the sea almost every single day. I love spending time by the beach. I really became a sea person, so swimming definitely also what I love. I used to go for a lot of runs, especially when I prepared for the marathon in Athens that I did last year. I also like to drive my supercars around the mountains. There are beautiful roads for driving with your car around Aphrodite Rocks, coastal roads, up to Mount Olympus, but also for the motorbikes, absolutely amazing roads, a lot of fun, just as the gym and health scene is very, very big here. A lot of communities for various different other sports, and just taking care of yourself, your body, mind and soul. The same applies to food. I personally consider the Cyprus cuisine as very healthy, with Mediterranean food selections, a lot of seafood, a lot of local organic vegetables, meats, potatoes, this and that, and also just a general outdoor living. I love that it is not like in Dubai where you have to spend most of your time indoor because it is too hot. No, here in Cyprus we spend a lot of time outdoors, and Cyprus has this small island effect. So no matter where I go, I find at least a few people that I know or that know me, and we just have this small talk interactions, and it just feels like a big family rather than an anonymous city like in London, for example, where no matter where you go, you feel like you're a nobody. And this also leads to the next point, which is freedom and ease. And for that, I have a very funny story, and that is last weekend when I drove with my motorbike around Paphos, I actually drove without a helmet. Why? Because I borrowed my helmet to my best friend Elias, who actually bought himself his first bike here on the island. And as I have 2 helmets, I gave him one of mine. So I left one for my girlfriend and I drove without one. And yes, I know it's not good. Sorry, I will not do it again, this and that. I already got my helmet back now. But my main point is, this morning while driving to the sea, I actually saw the police in front of me, and they saw me as well, and they didn't really care. But if I would do this in Germany, it is unthinkable. They would literally fine me thousands of euros, take away my driver's license. But here in Cyprus, the mentality is a little bit different. Yes, he sees me and he thinks I'm a Malaka, and he thinks probably, why am I doing it? But I'm not really putting anyone in danger. The girl behind me wore a helmet. I'm not driving drunk or putting other people in danger. And so he was like, it's okay, I'm going for a coffee. And I love this because obviously the police in Cyprus is doing an amazing job. They actually are super professional, and whenever I encounter them in certain events or organized meetups, they are always doing a great job. But they are still Cypriots and know how to enjoy their life and not make their own and the lives of their neighbors and families unnecessarily hard with unnecessary bureaucracy. So long story short, if you fuck up here in Cyprus big time, obviously you will probably go to jail. But if you like this free lifestyle and test the boundaries a bit in a respectful way, then Cyprus is definitely for you. Now, next point is the cities in Cyprus, and for that we have my 2 main options, and that is either a Limassol if you like city energy, business scenes, networking with international entrepreneurs, investors, this and that. There is definitely more of that in Limassol, skyscrapers, the marina, more luxury than here in Paphos, which is my second choice. I lived in both cities. However, I moved to Paphos 6 years ago, so my first year was in Limassol. The past 6 years were in Paphos. One, because I saw so much potential here in the city. The rental prices were absolutely cheap when I first moved here. But I also personally just love the quiet, focused energy, and I love that it is so family oriented. So here in Paphos, the energy is really down to earth. It is not with big expectations like in Dubai, for example, where I also spent a lot of time, just came back from a short visit there, and everything there is just around money and flashy things and, hey, what are you doing and how much money do you have? Here in Paphos, it's more like where your kids go to school, where you go for a swim, what your favorite restaurant is, and this is what I love because it is real. So with that being said, you should definitely know that you have the options between these 2. You can mix and match, of course. It's just a 45 to 50 minutes drive to go from Limassol to Paphos and from Paphos to Limassol, depending on the traffic, of course. But I personally spend maybe one day every 2 weeks in Limassol and most of the time here in Paphos. But regardless, the whole island is one of the safest countries in Europe, even though Cyprus fell in the global peace ranking. I always said that the global peace index is not really a good indicator for day-to-day safety. They take into consideration political factors and geographical issues that are around the country. And obviously Cyprus is in the Middle East. However, as we see, the military protection from many European countries are very strong. We have Greece, Italy, Netherlands, France, Germany, Spain, and the UK, of course, with military ships here, and also fighter jets from Turkey and Greece are literally on the island. And if there would be any incoming threat from anywhere, they would be there to protect us, intercept any missiles, drones, whatsoever. And that is why I would say Cyprus is actually one of the safest countries in the world. I've been to a lot of places, and here in Cyprus, I just feel so safe that I leave my car unlocked when I go to the beach, and when I forget my phone in the mall, people are literally coming after me to return it. There are no pickpocketers, no homeless people, and no rape or sexual offense rates here in Cyprus. The homicide rate is, I think, 1 in 100,000, which means that it is basically non-existing, especially considering that Cyprus is such a small island with barely 1 million of a population. And when we compare that to bigger countries like the UK or Germany with tens of millions of people living there, then we quickly realize that we can't really look at the statistics, but you have to come here and feel it yourself. Just one more screenshot of the safest countries in the world 2023, and here we see that the Global Finance magazine actually listed Cyprus as number 13 because they didn't include geopolitical issues such as the Cyprus problem, for example, which is existing, yes, but it doesn't affect the day-to-day life here. It doesn't affect your children going out on a Friday or Saturday night and you have to sit at home worrying if they will make it home or if they get stabbed like in many other countries. And that is the safety that you feel every day here. Now, when it comes to taxes, let's go over the most important facts, and that is the corporate tax rate here in Cyprus as per January 1st, 2026 is 15%, which is OECD aligned, meaning it is the global minimum corporate tax that is currently focusing on multinational corporations. However, in the near future, they will want to implement this to most jurisdictions across the world for most businesses. So as Cyprus is a fully EU member and we have access to EU banking with the IBAN, with the SWIFT infrastructure, you will have it very easy to onboard your Cyprus limited company to major banks or money institutions or payment processes and process payments, which is very important, and many other low tax jurisdictions or especially tax havens can't really offer because Cyprus's reputation is actually very strong. The credit score rating of Cyprus from S&P is A-, which means that the banking sector is very stable, even though it did have issues in the past, but that's a topic for another video. And now let's compare the corporate tax rates with, for example, Germany, which sits at 30%, Netherlands also very close to that, and Sweden also. All of those tax rates are almost double of the tax rate here in Cyprus. So just looking at the corporate tax rate, you already save a lot of money that you can keep in your own pockets as pure profits. But now it's getting interesting because Cyprus also offers the IP box regime, which means that your effective corporate tax rate can be as low as 3% on qualifying IP income, because 80% of the profits from those qualifying IP income are tax exempt, and that applies to income from software. So if you run a SaaS business, for example, patented businesses, and a few other qualifying IP income sources, which we can of course individually consult you and your business on. So we are going to take a look at your income streams and tell you whether or not you qualify for the IP box. But if you do, then you will take advantage of one of the best, if not the best, IP box for software in EU, in the world, and that is EU approved, so you can legally pay 3% in corporate tax here in Cyprus. And in addition, with the non-dom status where you are fully exempt from the dividend and interest income tax, you can literally have a legal total tax rate of 3%. And at Tax.One, we have a lot of clients that took advantage of this specific tax setup, and they are living here in Cyprus with a total tax rate of just 3%. And by the way, that is one of the reasons why so many tech, SaaS, software and fintech businesses are currently relocating here to Cyprus. When it comes to the non-dom status, this is an actual physical certificate that you receive from the Cyprus tax department, stamped and signed, and it will give you the 100% guarantee that it will be valid for 17 years. You will be seen as a non-domiciled resident here in Cyprus, and you will pay no tax on dividend and interest income. And this dividend or interest income can be interest income that you receive from your bank. For example, I have a lot of money in my Revolut account. I'm receiving 3% APY there. I receive dividends from public stocks that I'm invested in, such as Starbucks or Apple, for example. But also I'm receiving, of course, dividends from my private companies, my Cyprus Limited company, where I also don't pay any tax on the dividends that I'm receiving. However, listen carefully, because there is a small contribution to every dividend payment that you receive of up to 180,000 euros, because there is the 2.65% national healthcare contribution on your annual dividend income. So for every tax calendar year, which is January 1st until December 31st, you have a capped contribution to the YESI system, NHS, healthcare, whatever you want to call it, of 4,770 euros, which is the equivalent to 180,000 euros of dividend that you are receiving. Meaning, if you receive more than that, let's say 500,000, you are still not paying more than 4.770 euros, because that is the maximum that you will pay per year. And if we compare that again with Germany, for example, where I was born and raised, by the way, then you will quickly realize how little that actually is, because the dividend tax in Germany is 25%. Then solidarity surcharges, and that after the 30% corporate tax that already took so much of your hard-earned money. And in return to that, you are getting access to the national healthcare system here in Cyprus, which is, by the way, amazing. So far, I only have positive experiences, because if I have an issue, whether it is acute, I had an accident, or something that I just want to get checked, I'm just calling any hospital or doctor that is with the YESI system, which is a lot, almost all of them, even private hospitals, even private clinics. I call them and they tell me, well, if you want, my friend, come tomorrow morning. In Germany, on the other hand, if I want to just see the doctor, they are telling me that their earliest appointment for the dentist, I remember that, is in like 3-4 months, which is ridiculous. So that about the Cyprus tax setup. Then we also have advanced offshore structures that I take advantage of myself with my business partners in the UAE. And a lot of our clients are taking advantage of offshore structures in the US, in Hong Kong, or Singapore, whatever there is, depends very much on each client's situation. And if you book an individual consultation call on Tax.One, we are also going to look at your specific case. However, with foreign companies, you could potentially lower your effective corporate tax even further. There are certain jurisdictions where you could be potentially fully exempt from corporate taxation via territorial taxation, but that is too much for this video. We are talking about Cyprus here, and also it only works with real substance, meaning office staff, management, local directors, this and that we can discuss in an individual consultation call. It is in general a very advanced setup and should only be done with proper advice. Do not do it DIY. Definitely don't click on the link where someone is just selling you a US LLC and telling you it's tax-free. Trust me, it is not, and comes with real consequences. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next month, but definitely in the near future. In the back, you can see the Panama Papers book, which is definitely a good read if you want to see what risks such structures come with. So definitely make sure to get professional advice. And now when it comes to the costs and banking of Cyprus, also very interesting, because the company setup is a one-time incorporation fee. Then the annual accounting is also a fixed yearly cost, 2,000 to 3,000 euros, depending on the transaction volume, how many invoices you issue, how many banks you are using, how many lines in the accounting and in the reporting there is for our accountants to do your books. But in general, the accounting is very transparent, predictable. There are no hidden surprises. We work with automated softwares where you literally just have to take a picture of your invoices, upload them, and that's it. We are taking care of everything else after that. And if you want to receive an individual quote about for your whole setup. We work with relocation packages, so we tell you how much it costs to do everything for you from A to Z. We do it all with our in-house lawyers and accountants. Then make sure to reach out to us on Tax.One, fill out the quick form, and you will receive an automated email with a free link to book an individual consultation call. Next is something that especially Central Europeans like Germans will love, where the accounting is very, very strict and you can't have anything as a business expense, so to say. And even if you go to a business meeting and you want to write off the dinner, you literally have to do percentages of which bottle was for private use and which one was for business. Here in Cyprus, if we go for a dinner, if you come to Cyprus, everything is a business expense, even the beer at 2 a.m. So that means we have a wide range of legitimate deductible expenses, especially when it comes to electronics and softwares. You can literally just write off everything. Same applies to travel expenses. When I go to Dubai or Germany, everything is a business expense. Why? Because I create content there, I meet business partners there, I'm doing work outside of Cyprus, so everything is a business expense. The hotel, the flights, the dinner, the coffee. I need coffee to work properly. Speaking of. So that also applies to marketing and office, of course. And then every deduction, every invoice that is a business expense lowers your effective tax liability to the Cyprus tax department. And that means effectively Cyprus has a relaxed accounting and auditing. Really, really cool to be an entrepreneur here in Cyprus and not worry about letters from the tax department. This literally doesn't exist here. I never received any letter from the tax department, and sometimes I'm late with my payments. Yes, I just pay them and everything's good. No one is threatening me. No one is stressing or rushing here. Everything is just siga siga, which is the saying here in Cyprus and means slowly, slowly. Next is banking. We have local banks such as Hellenic Bank, Bank of Cyprus, Alpha Bank, but also EMI solutions such as Wise, Revolut. The good thing is with a Cyprus tax residency, you can use all of those neobanks, EMI solutions, and open up bank accounts around the world. Even in Switzerland, private banking possible, not just for you as a natural person, but also for your legal entity and maybe even your trust. Cyprus entities are internationally recognized and not gray or blacklisted. So if you go with a Cyprus limited company to any bank, they are not looking at you in a weird way, like if you would go there with a BVI company, for example, where they know exactly what you're doing, because the reputation is pretty strong of Cyprus. And so we have a lot of multi-currency banking options. You can definitely operate and bank in Cyprus with a peace of mind, because also the economy in Cyprus is very strong. Cyprus is paying off its debt faster than any other EU country, and the GDP growth of the country is regularly #1 in the EU as well. Now, a little side note that is interesting for a lot of business owners that run a business that is depending on liquidity. Cyprus works on the provisional tax per se, nothing special. A lot of countries have that, but the cool thing is that the corporate tax in Cyprus is paid in 2 installments. And if you do not pay the first installment, which is during summer, so June, July, then nothing really happens. You will have a small penalty, which is literally very, very low. And then you're just paying the full tax payable upon approved audit, and you just pay what you're actually liable for. So that means if you need the liquidity, the cash flow for running ads, for example, or doing a big investment, you can do so. You do not need to pay the tax, the first installment, when it is due. And then later in the year, you can just adjust it, and it is simple and predictable. So you have no surprises if you plan ahead. But before you do such things, definitely make sure to speak to our accountant, who is always there for you. And now, to summarize who is Cyprus for and who it is not for, let's wind back a little bit. And as I said, Cyprus is not for people that want the Dubai's flash and skyline and luxury and this and that. Shopping experiences are not really comparable with the UAE. And sometimes I feel it myself. I go out, I want to spend money, but I literally can't, which is a good thing, by the way. It is amazing, but I can't go luxury shopping. I can't go to certain Louis Vuittons or Zegna's, Loro Piana's. Doesn't really exist here. So you literally have to fly to Dubai, Paris, go shopping there if you want to do those things, or if your girlfriend wants to do those things. And here in Cyprus, you save money. In Germany, I remember ordering something from Amazon on a weekly basis, but because the shipping costs in Cyprus are more expensive because of shipment and importing this and that, and it takes a few days until it arrives, sometimes I'm just like, F it, I don't need it anyway. And then also a lot of people think that Cyprus is great for nightlife and parties, and yes, it does exist, especially during high season in Ayia Napa or in some places in Limassol, and here in Paphos in a very small, cozy way. I would never compare it to Ibiza, for example, where I was 2 years ago, and the party scene was like, wow, definitely. But Cyprus is not for nightlife. Cyprus is for people that have a healthy relationship with their partner, their family, their kids, and want to come here and live in peace. And also build a community, relationships with root and ground. Because you also don't have this big city anonymity, which we discussed earlier, because it's a small island and everyone knows each other. Everyone is probably related to each other in some kind of way. And so when it comes to that, Cyprus is a bit behind, but this is exactly what makes it special and why I personally live here. Because realistically, I could live anywhere else. There are places with lower taxes, there are places with more sun. And I visit those places, as I said, go to Dubai very regularly, just spend 2 months in Thailand, 6 months in Bali, and all those places are amazing. But there's just some magic around Cyprus, which always makes me want to come back and just combine those other places with Cyprus, which is my main primary base. And this leads to who Cyprus is for. Cyprus is for people, upcoming entrepreneurs, for example, who want to lock in, build their business, focus on their fitness, health, relationships, and just grow as a person on a daily basis with an amazing routine. Because in Cyprus, once you are set up, once you have your house rented, once you have your car, your companies, bank accounts, everything is running, it is the perfect country to lock in, enter monk mode, and absolutely crush and achieve your goals. And that while still living an amazing lifestyle. I work a lot. I'm probably in the office here for at least 8 hours a day, more like 10, and on some days even 14, 15 probably if I work on a big project, video, whatever it is. But next to that, I go to the sea every morning. I go to the gym every day and I train, I ride, I live in nature, and I keep most of my money because the tax rate in Cyprus is just fair. It is not the lowest, it is definitely not the highest, but it is absolutely fair because I have no problem with paying taxes if the money actually goes back into the country, to the community, into the infrastructure. And when I drive around Paphos, the city that I'm living in, it's a rather small city, 60, 70, 80,000 people maybe, but I see constructions on every corner, not just from private developers, also the government is improving the bus infrastructure. They are cleaning places, they are cleaning the beaches, they are improving the lights. When I drive around the old town, it is not the same anymore as 5 years ago. It is so much more modern, beautiful, colorful, and all that. And so I would say that Cyprus is your unfair advantage if you want to improve your life quality. Because as of now, a lot of people still don't know it. It is like the hidden gem in Cyprus, but I see more and more people coming here, which is great for me. It is my business to help people move here, but it is definitely still possible to take advantage of the first mover advantage. If you come here now, if you rent cheap properties, if you buy cheap properties, if you set up your business here, if you drive without a helmet, before maybe in the future they become more strict. Now, something that I didn't discuss yet, but it is one of the best things about Cyprus, especially for digital nomads, is the 60 days rule. So international tax law is that if you spend more than 6 months per year in a country, you legally become their tax resident. However, Cyprus has something that is called the 60 days special tax residency rule. And that is that with only 60 days that you spend on the island per year, you become a legal tax resident of Cyprus. And the only requirements are that you do not have any other tax residency, because then you trigger double taxation and you need to conduct a business here in Cyprus. So either have your own company or be employed in a company, and then also rent or own a property here. And then you can literally just spend 2 months per year here in Cyprus and spend the rest of the time in Southeast Asia, in the UAE, in Europe, and just live an amazing life while paying 15% corporate tax in Cyprus and 0% on all your dividends. And this, in my eyes, is perfect for all these digital nomads and freelancers, solopreneurs, people that travel around the globe without a real tax residency, without a bulletproof structure, that just can't fully commit to a country yet. You don't have to. You only need to spend 60 days per year here in Cyprus, and this doesn't even need to be consecutive. So it can be a little bit in January for Christmas time, a little bit in autumn, a little bit in spring, a little bit during summer, however you want, just 2 months per year in the country. And that is the lowest commitment tax residency in the EU. And now, before you move, before you book your plane and rent a place and reach out to us, make sure that you come to Cyprus first. Take a look, because at the end of the day, Cyprus is also a tourist destination. So Just come here for a vacation, for a little holiday, rent something nice. Don't go with the cheap options. Definitely rent something that costs at least 100 euros, 150 euros per night, so that you do not spend time in a place with mold, but in a more quality luxury Airbnb, hotel, whatever you prefer. And then you come here, you visit, you test the lifestyle first, and then you join our entrepreneur evenings that we host regularly in Limassol. Every 3 months, I'm hosting my own meetups for entrepreneurs. It is always around 100 people that come together, people that are just visiting, people that already live here. We have an amazing time. We meet new people, new friends, potential business partners. There are so many stories that I heard already of people getting together, building great businesses together, creating win-win situations, and taking advantage of synergy effects. And this is exactly what we do at the Tax.One group. So if you want to work with us, if you want to speak to us, reach out to us on Tax.One, and then we are more than happy to help you with everything around Cyprus. And with that being said, thank you very much for watching the video. And if you subscribe, I will see you in the next one.